Hi everyone, it is Tony, your dietitian. Thank you for tuning in to this live video. Once again, Instagram friends, I am sorry, but I won't be looking at you. I will be looking at my Facebook screen, my computer screen, because that's where I can most easily download and upload the videos to YouTube, which will be on soon. So the more after this recording and everything, I will download it and put it on YouTube probably tomorrow. After each live video, I also have a blog post that I wrote to coincide with it, so that the blog post that I write might go over some details that maybe I didn't explain well in the video, or vice versa. So you're able to see both me talking about what we're going to talk about tonight, and then you can also read it. And also in my blog, I usually refer to other articles that you can take a look at that will help explain what I'm talking about in a little bit further, and go into detail a little bit more. Tonight, I am talking about 5 non-food or exercise tips that you can do to improve your health. Exercise and nutrition are 2 very, very important components to a healthy lifestyle. As a registered dietitian, I'm very much aware of that, and I can see the effects that it can have on a person's overall well-being and health when they start to focus on their health and exercise plan, and they start to improve their nutrition, improve their diet, and their get a little bit more active. Now, with that being said, it can be very overwhelming, and some people are not willing, ready, or able to change their diet or exercise regimen, and this can make them feel a little bit discouraged. And my job is to make you feel empowered. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I would love for you to feel empowered. So I don't want the anticipation of starting a new exercise program or changing your diet to fear you and create this, stillness in you that doesn't actually motivate you to move forward. With that being said, I'd love to talk about the 5 tips that I have for you that can improve your overall health. Before I do that, I love to introduce myself. So I'm Tony Marinucci. I'm a registered dietitian. Tips with Tony is my page on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and now a podcaster. So the Tips with Tony podcast is now out, so you can subscribe on, hey Melissa, you can subscribe, I'm tongue-tied today, very tired. You can subscribe on Apple Podcast and on Spotify and Libsyn and YouTube. And just type in Tips with Tony podcast in Google search engine, and I probably will come up. So which is really, really exciting. So for those just tuning in on Instagram, I do apologize. I'm looking at my Facebook screen because it's easier for me to download and then put the videos onto YouTube later. So sorry about that. All right. So without further ado, and one more thing, I am now a proud business owner. My business is Diet Tips with Tony Marinucci, MSRD LLC, and I provide online nutrition counseling through a HIPAA-compliant platform. So my clients' information is confidential. And so what I do is it's an online counseling business. So I basically help people with their nutrition, exercise regimen, mostly nutrition as a registered dietitian, but helping them to reach their goals. And I usually work with people on changing their behavior. It's not so much me telling someone what to eat and how to eat. It's more of us working together and finding an individual plan for that person that's going to fit best for their lifestyle. Okay, so exercise, nutrition, definitely part of it. But tonight we're going to talk about the other things that affect your health that are non-nutrition or exercise related. Okay, so if anybody wants to guess, what do you think is one of the things that is super important that affects your health that is not related to food or exercise? What do we think? I want to see if anybody has a guess. All right, no takers. So the obvious is sleep, okay? When our bodies do not get enough sleep, we are obviously physically feeling tired. So when we're tired, what do we want to do? We want to eat, right? We want food is energy. Energy has calories. That's what energizes us. So when we don't get enough sleep, we want to overeat. So even though it's not directly nutrition related, it is indirectly nutrition related. So when we're not getting adequate sleep, we naturally are feeling more tired. Therefore, we want to overeat. Or if you're tired, you're less likely to be mindful of your choices. It might be really easy for you to just grab something and just eat it because you're too tired to think about it. Okay, so when we're feeling tired, we're less likely to stay on track with our goals and more likely to fall off track. Also, on a physiological level, when we are not sleeping enough, basically when we sleep, we have a ton of hormones in our body that are getting secreted all day long, okay? At nighttime, the hunger hormone, it's called ghrelin. The hunger hormone at nighttime, when you're getting adequate sleep, shuts down. So what it tells our bodies that we're hungry is not activated if we're getting adequate sleep. However, if you're not getting adequate sleep, then that hunger hormone gets turned on and makes us feel actually hungrier, okay? And when we're hungry, when we're tired, we're usually craving things that aren't always great for us, right? We want the salty foods, we want the fatty foods, sugary foods. And then also just on a more practical standpoint, if we're up for longer hours of the night, we're probably going to eat within that time period. If we have longer days, we're going to eat to get us through our days. So there's actually a really interesting study. It was a small study. There's 19 people in the study, so it's relatively very small. But I do believe there's a lot of other science that I probably should look into. But basically it was a study. It was 19 men and women, and they did nothing to change their diet or exercise plan whatsoever. And that group of 19 men and women, one group, the control group, got 8 hours of sleep per night. The other group got an hour and 20 minutes less per night. So about 6 hours and 40 minutes versus the 8-hour control group. After that study was done, they had found that the group that got an hour and 20 minutes less sleep per night actually ate 540 calories more on average per day. Okay, so just by not sleeping, versus 8 hours of sleep per night versus 6 hours and 40 minutes of sleep per night, there was a difference from the control group that got the 8 hours to the group that got the 6 hours and 40 minutes. They were eating about 500 or more calories per day. Okay, and so that's usually related to the fact that if we're tired, we're going to eat more. If we are up for longer hours, we're probably going to eat more. And if we're up for longer hours, we're not getting adequate sleep, that hunger hormone, ghrelin, is going to be secreted more frequently. It's going to make us want to eat. Okay, so sleep indirectly affects our food choices and our overall health. All right, sleep is really, really important. So that's one of the non-food or exercise things that we can do to improve our health. Okay. Now, stress management, self-care. I think that's another really big one that we're all pretty much probably aware that we should be incorporating in our lives on a regular basis, but many of us lack to do that. I think it's very easy to take care of other people, but when it comes to taking care of ourselves, we're usually the last on our own list. But really, does that make sense? Like, can you genuinely be helping someone if your cup isn't fully full? I don't think so. So you're not really doing yourself or others a service by helping other people before you help yourself. With that being said, stress management, self-care doesn't have to necessarily be this whole big thing that you're like not helping anyone, you're only helping yourself. It literally takes maybe 5 to 10 minutes every single day to do something that's for you. Self-care and self-management, stress management is going to decrease the cortisol levels in our body. So cortisol is something that is another hormone that gets secreted when we're stressed out. Okay? It's there to protect us. So you ever hear of like women who there's like serious studies and like events that you hear of, like when women, like their baby is like underneath the car and they're able to lift the car. That's their adrenaline rushing. That's their cortisol going into stress. That's there to protect us. It's their flight or fight mechanism. So we are able to just help whatever situation. So when we're stressed, cortisol is secreted. When cortisol is secreted, it's putting glucose into our system. So glucose is sugar to give us the energy that we need to fight. It thinks that we need to attack something. So that's good on some level, right? But if it's constantly like that, think about sugar constantly getting secreted into your system on a regular basis, and you're not eating sugar, you're just being stressed out, your sugar's coming from the muscle, it's just boom, 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 boom. That in itself is linked to, having excess sugar obviously can then be related to diabetes, okay? It can affect our health. We could lead to cancer. Being stressed out on a regular basis is not good for our health. And I think, that's obvious, right? So, we talked about sleep, we talked about stress management. These are things that we have to be willing to change. And when we change them, automatically we start to make better choices in our food plan and our exercise regimen. But to be honest, I think that the fundamentals start from adequate sleep. Letting yourself, get a massage, do something that is going to be good for you, that's going to help relieve some of those stressors in your life. Okay. Number 3, personal hygiene. Okay. I know this probably sounds silly for some of you, but, making sure you're showering every day obviously is going to get rid of all the bad bugs. You don't need any bugs, bacteria in your life. Okay. So, showering regularly, obviously. Washing your hands is more of an important one. Washing your hands is, I'm not going to get into whether you should or should not get the flu vaccine every year. That's not what I'm here to do. But washing your hands every single day, before and after you eat, before and after you use the bathroom, before and after if you smoke cigarettes, which you're not going to do because we're going to talk about that in number 4. That in itself is going to prevent you from getting sick. Okay? So washing your hands, and then dental hygiene as well. So when you're talking about personal hygiene, it's things like showering, washing your hands, but then brushing your teeth. Your mouth is directly linked to your heart. It's the closest thing to your heart. So if we're not taking care of our mouth, or other side note, if we're not taking care of our bodies, it can usually be detected in our mouths. That's where a lot of the bacteria is, and that's where a lot of infection can happen. And once again, it's the closest thing to our heart, so it's usually reflective if there's something going on, like heart disease. Okay, so making sure you're brushing your teeth, flossing, those affect our health in a very, very big way. So the other things we were talking about, like stress management and sleep, those are more prevention of chronic illnesses and diseases to keep you healthy, whereas hand washing, brushing your teeth, personal hygiene is going to be more of like an infectious disease control. That's kind of the two differences. But either way, we need to be healthy, and not being healthy leads from one thing to another thing, and then you're not able to live your life and be your best self, which is the ultimate goal, which is why I'm talking about this today. As a registered dietitian, I just want to talk about diet and nutrition, but I can't because I know that that's not factual. So here we are talking about all the other things that do matter, a huge deal. And if you haven't noticed, they all kind of go into each other, so if we're not asleep, we could easily get stressed out. If we're stressed out, we could easily turn to food. If we turn to food, that could lead to us feeling stressed because we're off our diet plan. If we don't sleep, we might not do the exercise that we plan to do in the morning. These are all correlated with each other. Another one, that number 4, which comes to mind, is saying no to drugs, alcohol, and smoking. Okay? Any of those illicit drugs, obviously, an absolute no-no. Even things that are okay by law, technically alcohol is a drug. And yes, we're allowed to drink it. And yes, you can have, 1 serving of alcohol if you're a female per day, 2 servings of alcohol if you're a male per day. But anything more than that is going to be detrimental to our heart, our health. It can cause dehydration. But then when we have too much of alcohol, too many drugs, too much of things that are considered toxic to our body, that's when our liver comes into play. And our liver is a wonderful organ. Our liver can help detoxify us on a regular basis. So side note, you don't need to do any detox diets because your body is awesome and does it for you. But that's another thing. But your liver kind of kicks in. Now, what happens is over a period of time, if your liver, it's a wonderful thing because it can basically fix itself. It can, really do miraculous things. But if you abuse that privilege and you're constantly giving your body things that are toxic to it, your liver eventually is not going to work for you anymore. And that's the long-term effects. The short-term effects of having, doing drugs or something that alters your state of mind is it limits your inhibition to make positive decisions. Just a simple thing of drinking 3 glasses of wine at dinner. The next day you might not do your workout, or if you do your workout, it might not be a great thing. And then, it wasn't that great of a workout. So then, you didn't really eat well, or when people might smoke, it might trigger them to want to eat something, so that takes them off plan. Overall, I to be honest, and I don't want to get too much into it, but I don't really feel like you can truly be your best self if you're abusing drugs or alcohol, and if you're smoking, especially if you're smoking tobacco, obviously that's going to significantly affect your lungs and your health, which is going to make it even harder for you to exercise. Your organs are going to, it's just, even though it's an obvious one, it's still something that we need to talk about, because I think a lot of people there's actually a few people that I know that, their nutrition's on point, their exercise is on point, but the drinking, the alcohol, the drugs, it just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't fit in the healthy lifestyle ways to improve your health. Okay. All right. So lastly, this one is my favorite one. Do you want to guess what it is? Number 5, non-food or exercise tip that can improve your health. So I just did it. Breathing, okay? I want you all to do that with me. Breathe in through your nose. Out through your mouth, okay? Deep breathing, deep breathing. Many of us don't do that. I think half the time I'm walking through the day holding my breath and I don't even recognize it. Deep breathing is so important to help relieve some of those toxins and get all that stuff out, okay? We breathe in oxygen, we get rid of carbon dioxide, and that's important for us to detoxify our body and to help our body. Okay, so deep breathing is something that's going to help with stress management. It's going to help with just overall getting everything out that we don't need. And it's a really important cycle that goes with everything in our health. Okay, so those are your 5 non-food or exercise tips that can improve your health. If you have any questions, Please comment below, send me a message. You can email me at tipswithtony@gmail.com. Don't forget to subscribe to my Tips with Tony podcast. You can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Pretty much, also go to www.tipswithtony.com, and you can get all of the blogs that I've been doing over the past few weeks. They all have an article that go with it. So every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time, I'm going to be going live on a different topic. Next week, I'm talking about fad diets. I'm going to talk about the ketogenic diet. We're going to talk about intermittent fasting. We're going to talk about just what else? Paleo, all these different diets that may or may not be a fad. We're going to talk about that, why. Oh, Chloe. She always makes it in one of them. So that's pretty much what we're going to talk about next week. If you have any suggestions or topics that you would like me to talk about, Carrie, I took your advice. So Carrie made the suggestion to do the fad diet. So I'll definitely let you know when the article is out. And watch next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern time to catch that. Let's see. So the most recent podcast that's out, so I wrote some notes. The most recent podcast that is out is the 5 Fundamentals to a Healthy Lifestyle. So it's kind of similar to what we talked about tonight, but it's not going to be, there's going to be other things that you might want to listen to there. And then lastly, I am running a special for those who listened in. So if you are in the U.S., and depending on what state you're in, I mostly counsel people in New York State, but depending on what your state you're in, I am offering a $60 off of your first month of working with me for watching this entire video, but you need to use the discount code, which only if you watch to the very end, you know what it is, and the discount code is I'm ready. Okay, so if you send me an email, tipswithtony@gmail.com, saying that I'm ready, you're going to get $60 off of your first initial consultation, your first month. I do packages, so your first month with me. All right. If you do not live in New York and I cannot offer you my services, I do have online support groups that are going on. They go on a regular basis. With that, you get workout support, meal plan guidance, but I run it a little bit differently because I can't give counseling to people outside of my state. Legally, I'm not able to do that, but I have found a way around it so I can still help you, for all of you who are out there watching and listening. So I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys for listening to me. I appreciate you guys on Instagram for watching me while I'm looking at my Facebook camera. It's probably a little awkward, but I do appreciate it. So I'll see you guys next week, Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern time, to talk about fad diets. Have a great night, guys.